Good evening from London, wrestling fans. I'm your host, Ben Allison, and you are listening to Wrestling Republic's daily broadcast, your one-stop shop for professional wrestling insight, news, and reviews on a daily basis. And yes, today was the Royal Rumble, and I'm still hyped from it. There were so many great moments, but of course, the two big bits of information coming out of it is that Bayley won the Women's Royal Rumble, which I am thrilled about and will be getting into in just a minute. But also, Cody Rhodes won the Men's Royal Rumble, and well, this has divided Wrestling Republic's team to say the very least. I mean, just on this show today, one person doesn't believe this Cody Rhodes story has been told, never mind is getting close to being finished. Another person thinks that the match Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns isn't big enough for WrestleMania 40, and another person thinks that this is the perfect thing for Philadelphia, as it's very similar to the Rocky story. Meanwhile, I actually kind of agree with that, but I do unfortunately think that Roman Reigns is going to win at WrestleMania, because I really do think he'll be champion until the new TV deals. But today we're discussing all of that, and probably for the next few months as well. It's WrestleMania season, the best time of the year to be a wrestling fan. So without further ado, let me introduce the man who doesn't believe in the story. Some people don't believe in the moon landing, some people believe the earth is flat. Clark doesn't believe in Cody Rhodes' story.
I do believe that the earth is round. Personally, I do. I've seen enough globes. I agree that the earth is round, guys. I will also say I was excited about last night's Rumble. I thought the women's Rumble was off the charts. The men's Rumble, it was the men's Rumble. It was an interesting show across the board. I can't wait to get into it. It is Championship Sunday here in the States too in football. What a weekend for sports, and go Chiefs. I'm stoked to get into it today.
Absolutely, go Chiefs. And we got a comment here from Bobby Ratito saying he got goosebumps when Jordan Gray showed up last night. I agree, we'll get into that in just a second, but all these guys can vouch for my reaction. I went nuts when it happened on Cole. Anthony Manzano here as well. Hello, Anthony. And we got David Y7 10 on Instagram saying we are the best. Thank you so much, David. You are the best as well. But without further ado, let me introduce the man who reviewed the show for Wrestling Republic last night, and the man who doesn't think Cody versus Reigns is big enough for a milestone WrestleMania, Coby Galenzoski.
I mean, I still stand by it. I don't, like, if you're thinking about WrestleMania, milestone manias, to me, it doesn't stick out. We already saw this match. I'm not sitting there and saying it's not the right decision. I assume Cody Rhodes has to win now, because you can't have him lose another match to Roman Reigns. But, I mean, other than that, we'll talk about that when the time comes. There's going to be a lot of this. Is this the right choice? Is this not? Within the next month. But of course, I reviewed the Royal Rumble. I'm obviously I already have a bunch of knives at my back, because people are saying, what Rumble did you see, or stuff like that. And it's just like it was very much it's a very much a solid show. It had two solid Rumbles. You had a great four-way. I don't know what else you can want from an event. I thought it was a solid show overall. I enjoyed it. I don't know what happened to the people who are saying they didn't. I don't know what they were expecting.
Well, I kind of do agree with you there. We got Franklin Morales saying that he didn't think the men's Rumble was that good. We'll get into that later on for sure. But Davey D710 believes that Bron Breakker being there and having the Bron Breakout performance was the best part. I did very much enjoy that. But last but certainly not least, it is the Philadelphia resident here at Wrestling Republic who is very much excited for WrestleMania 40. And the man who thinks Cody Rhodes should finish his story at WrestleMania, Anthony Ricciardi. How are you, Anthony?
I'm doing all right. I've been calling the Cody Roman rematch since the literally seconds after we saw him lose in LA. I was mainly because Clark looked at me and went, Rocky didn't beat Apollo the first time. And I turned and went, Rocky 2 in Philly. And that literally, I have been adamant from that moment that this is the direction it was going, even when everyone else was going the other direction. I was like, I think this is going this way.
Yeah, no, I mean, you were right. You absolutely were. And, I mean, I'm excited for a story to be told. But before we get to the men's Royal Rumble, let's talk the women's Royal Rumble, because this was fun. Natalya opened it. She came out. And I think quite a few people, I mean, even in our watch party, were kind of going, oh, Natalya's number one. Oh. And then number 2, Naomi. Naomi is back in WWE just days after she lost the TNA Knockouts Championship. This was just truly a great way to start this Rumble. And having a safe pair of hands in Natalya be in the ring with her to open it was a great decision. This was the perfect way to start the Royal Rumble, the Women's Royal Rumble. Exceptional start. But we got our breath back, we calmed down a little bit, got to entrance 5. We're like, oh, who's this going to be? And that forbidden door was opened. The door which I never expected WWE to actually open. They opened it. Jordynne Grace, the knockout champion, came out in the Rumble, right? And she's not been in WWE before. She's not been, some top star. It wasn't like a Mickie James from a couple of years ago, where it kind of made sense because, she's at least got history there. This made I don't want to say it made no sense, but it felt very random, and I mean that in the best way. This shocked me. I marked out for it. Hardcore fans marked out for it. Did casual fans know who she was? Nope. But by that reaction alone, they knew she was important. And let's face it, she's not now, on TV each week. So it's not like they need to really tell us who she is. Commentary did a good enough a job to do this. And it was just a really fun surprise. I loved it. As it went on, we saw a few people from NXT. Tiffany Stratton showed up. Shard was loving life. It was Tiffy time. He was having an absolute blast. And then Liv Morgan returned at number 30. But the big headline, the big thing about it all is Bayley has won the Women's Royal Rumble match. And I've been saying for absolutely months, that Bayley needed to win the Women's Royal Rumble this year. Because let's face it, since Damage Control started, she's kind of felt in the background of Damage Control. She's felt quite unimportant. And I really respect her for putting herself in that role so she could help Io Sky and Dakota Kai get over. And it's worked. It truly, truly has. But now it's time for Bayley to be a little selfish. Now it's time for her to main event WrestleMania. And Bayley, she got the win. I'm thrilled. Clark, you've been a critic of Damage Control, but do you now think the damage may finally be controlled?
You know how much I love Bayley. This is the exact result I wanted, and I'll go as far as saying this was my favorite men's or women's Rumble in the last 5 years. Wow. And I think the cleanest top to bottom with the returns. Liv Morgan, as you mentioned, multiple big returns. You didn't even mention Jade Cargill, and that's scary. That stare down with Bianca Belair was one of the moments of the night. Where to start? There was so much good. Jordynne Grace. I mean, you had Naomi's return. I was even at first a little bit like, when we saw Jordynne Grace, I'm like, wait a minute, is Naomi back in WWE or are they both over from TNA? I had to look it up online. Wait a minute. No, this is a Naomi return and a forbidden door being opened in the same Rumble, and I loved it. Top to bottom, it was booked perfectly. It was executed excellently. I have zero complaints, and the damage is about to be controlled. Finally, I can't wait to get back either Ding Dong Hello Bayley, whichever variation we get. But those straps, she's on her way back. I'm ready for it. And I'm excited about it. She was the MVP of the Rumble too. And that's what I thought the brilliance of this was. Tons of eliminations, really, really smart work with her own faction and playing off of that old school Rumble stuff and the like, can they coexist in this type of match? It's supposed to be every person for themselves, right? I dug it. The performance top to bottom by Bayley was off the charts, lasted forever in the Rumble. Actually, I believe broke a record, a little over an hour and 5 minutes spent inside of the match in the victory, which to me is always impressive anytime you break a record. And not only that, it was just delightful. I sincerely have zero complaints about this entire Rumble.
I honestly have to agree with you, and I mean, you said it. I forgot about Jade Cargill. That's how just action-packed this Rumble was. I forgot about Jade Cargill, and that's no fault of Jade, because she looked amazing in this Rumble. The stare down between her and Bianca Belair was absolute money. I mean, seriously, well done to everybody in this match. You guys did a great match. This should be, what people look at when you search how to book a Royal Rumble.
Blueprint.
Seriously. Use this as the blueprint. However, we didn't see the blueprint Sasha Banks return. Some people were a bit disappointed about that. Bobby Petito saying, it's great to see Booker T's student Roxanne Perez and Tiffany Stratton in the Royal Rumble match. I completely and utterly agree with you there. I mean, it was a really fun one, wasn't it? I mean, Coby, you rated it, I believe, 4.25 stars, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, what was your thoughts on this match?
So I feel like this was the best women's Rumble we've ever literally seen, because it not only started off with a different story, because I don't know, I thoroughly enjoyed 2020 when we had it was all about Brock, and then it started to get differently. We have different phases. This had this because we started it off with it being a lot about, like, okay, there's tag teams and then there's Damage Control. Damage Control is a threat, and Damage Control got taken out. And you had the story of Bayley going, well, what's the plan now? Or what happened to the plan when Asuka and Kyrie got eliminated? There's a lot of elements that really worked. I thought ever since when Roxanne showed up, that's when the switch, it went from amazing to or must watch. Like it took the next level, because you had Roxanne, you had Jade Cargill, you had Tiffany Stratton, and you had Liv Morgan back to back as the entrances. I thought it was great. I thought it was entertaining. The only thing that I could say from a rating standpoint is there were botches. There were things that didn't look smooth, but that's almost what you're going to get in a Rumble. Like, I'm not going to fault anyone for that, but it is by far the best women's Rumble I've personally seen. And I have nothing else to complain about. I enjoy the result. I had suspicions that they actually wouldn't, because they were making it too obvious that Bayley was the focus, especially with that video package she received. And it was just like, okay, are they actually just going to take the rug away from us and give it to someone else? No, they didn't. They gave it to Bayley. I thought it was satisfying. To me, that should have been the main event. That was the better match. That was the best match of the show. The better Rumble from a Rumble standpoint. And it had I believe, a more satisfying ending. Sans a stare down of Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns. I think it was bad. I think that should have closed the show.
No, I do agree with you, Coby. I think you summed it up perfectly. This was, the best match of the night, and like you said, the rating system, it's difficult for a Rumble to get 5 stars, to be honest. It really, really is, because there's so many different elements about it. And if we're being critical about it, at times there was a few things which looked sloppy. Sometimes people were just waiting by the ropes doing nothing. It looked a little whatever. But in the moment, you weren't thinking like that. You didn't notice that. You just hooked in on the action, and it was exceptional. It really, really was. We got a bit breaking news here for the Chiefs fans. There's been a touchdown! Touchdown Chiefs. But Anthony, what did you think about the women's Royal Rumble match?
Honestly, like I said on the preview show, the Rumble is such a special match because it's a match that you could have debuts, you can have returns, you could set up storylines, you can proceed with additional storylines from other stuff. It's special. And this one was that. When Jordan Grace came in, I'm a big TNA fan. I loved her coming in. She becomes the second Knockouts champion to enter a Rumble, the only Rumble that people from outside the company have come in has been the Women's Royal Rumble. Her and Naomi, they had Jordan look strong. She lasted 20 minutes in there. She looked like she belonged. She didn't look like a lesser talent. And I think that was a smart move. Now, granted, they didn't have her eliminate anybody. I get that. But she went out strongly by taking Naomi's finisher on the apron, which I thought was great. Jade coming in and making a dramatic debut, setting up potential future matches. I mean, it delivered. I didn't make my prediction the other day for the Women's Royal Rumble, but to me, the two frontrunners in my mind was Bayley and Becky. I thought those were the two that I thought probably had the best chance. The one final thing I want to say about the Women's Royal Rumble, I saw Jordan Grace tweeted, thanking the fans and thanking WWE for it, but she ended with, "It's not the last that the WWE Universe will see of TNA wrestling," which is very interesting and telling, especially since Hunter thanked them, and it could be interesting. 2024 could be very interesting.
The forbidden door, the real forbidden door, has been opened.
He doesn't like that,
and
TJ,
it's exciting.
as we
I know he doesn't like it.
He says it's silly and ridiculous, but yes.
Well, I'm sorry, Mr. Hunter. Go complain to your friend Mark, because we're calling it the forbidden door anyway. But now let's move on. Let's now move on to talk about the fatal four-way between Roman Reigns, where he was defending against LA Knight, AJ Styles, and of course Randy Orton. Now, going into this match, I was shocked at how many casual fans genuinely thought Randy Orton had a chance of winning, right? So many people in our comment section thought there was undoubtedly a chance that Randy Orton could win, and that's awesome. It means WWE did the job correctly building it, even though I kind of thought the build wasn't that great. But regardless, people believed that. But the second that it went on second, I don't think anybody believed there was a chance Reigns was losing this match at all. But it doesn't matter, right? All that mattered was that it was a good, entertaining match. And I don't mean to be negative here. It was good. It was fine. It did its job. But it just wasn't anything special. And when you've got four talents the caliber of LA Knight, AJ Styles, Randy Orton, and Roman Reigns, you kind of expect to see better than this, because this probably wasn't top 15 title defenses for Roman Reigns so far. I mean, Clark, what was your thoughts on the Fatal 4-Way?
I'm kind of in the same boat as you. On paper, this should have been absolutely delightful. Was it a fun match? Sure, definitely. And execution was good. I don't really have anything to knock there. Just storyline wise, it felt a little deflating, especially following the Women's Rumble. And that might have to do with card placement. I'm not entirely sure on that one. I would have loved to see Orton pull an upset, or Styles, or LA Knight. Did I think it was likely? No. Was the outcome what I expected? Yes. What's interesting to me was the announcement yesterday about, you're going to lose your mind at the end of the show. And to me, this sort of put a damper on the Men's Rumble, because you have three of the biggest potential challengers out of it now.
Yeah.
And not only that, Roman goes over pretty predictably. Sure, there were shenanigans, but I feel like it almost should have been more. I would have loved to see a Nick Aldis, legitimate, appearance of sorts. A lot of Nick Aldis and Roman was built into this in a way, right? A little bit of tension and whatnot. I would have liked to see him play a role. That might have been something that could have just made things a little bit more interesting or exciting, right? Made it feel like there was a better chance at Roman potentially losing the title. But to have the three talents of that caliber opposite him and not feel like he's being threatened to lose more than a traditional singles match is slightly disappointing. That'd be my complaint. Did I enjoy the match? Yes. Do I enjoy all four talents? Absolutely. Am I excited to see where they go from here? For sure. More interested in where we're going with Orton now.
Oh, okay.
I want to see where Randy is going, because now that he lost here, he didn't have his singles match with Roman. But where on the card over on SmackDown do you utilize Randy if he's not near Roman Reigns? And that's, to me, the toughest dilemma coming out of this, because I do think there are obvious things for Knight and Styles coming out of this. But Orton, I'm more uncertain because he's looked so good since he's came back. And so I'm really hoping that they kind of dial up a storyline that really makes sense for Orton headed to Mania. And I'm not totally sure what it is. I wish I had a good prediction. I don't. But I am curious to see where they go with Randy Orton.
I really would have liked to see Braun Breaker Orton.
Yeah, that'd be outstanding.
Mania, but they would have had to have done something in the Rumble, I feel like. Maybe have Orton then come back in the Rumble.
Right.
And Braun Breaker eliminate him, because, I mean, there's a lot of comparisons you can make between Randy Orton and Braun Breaker, actually, in terms of they've kind of been, they both, at the start of their careers, they had the same narrative about them. You know, the next big thing in this company, both, you know, young talents who are second
multi-generational,
yeah, I mean, certainly I feel like that could be a real money feud. I mean, Bobby Petito suggesting Randy Orton versus Solo Sikoa at WrestleMania. I mean,
I don't hate it.
Yeah,
if they really turn it into like a big old feud, I'm in.
And we got Joshua Buckner 97 saying it was a great Royal Rumble last night, and Jose Solto saying Santos versus Andrade is going to be fire. I absolutely do agree there. But what about you, Coby? What did you think about the Fatal 4-Way?
I thought this is exactly what we were expecting. I don't want to sound like a broken record and say essentially what you said, but I think while it was what we expected, they did really well. And I'm not gonna go, well, the build-up sucked, because I felt like I feel like it was too much Nick Aldis and Roman Reigns' issues with each other. Nick Aldis doesn't want to be walked over, and Roman Reigns is like, wait, why aren't you letting me walk over? Why aren't I in control here? This did not feel like 4 top stars in a collision course or 3 credible challengers in one match against Roman Reigns. But the match did tell that. We started it off with Roman Reigns getting circled, and I mean, that rarely happens. And I like the fact that it rarely happens, because it makes it feel special when it does happen. LA Knight looked good. AJ Styles looked really good. Randy Orton looked really good. Roman Reigns looked great. I thought there was great stuff, because we knew something was going to happen. We knew there was going to be a ref spot. Sikoa brings out the referee. I thought it was cool that he set the whole story. Was the last time we had a multi-person match was was Roman Reigns, Edge, and Daniel Bryan. The whole visual is he stacked them, and he stacked them in the pin for the pin. That's what Sikoa was trying to set up. He was trying to do it for his tribal chief. Is that attention to detail? I assume it is. I assume that is on purpose. And I like the fact that we had AJ Styles move out of the way of the barricade spot. I'm surprised we didn't see a barricade spear, but we got a barricade hip attack.
That's a rarity.
I'm shocked. It's a rarity. But I liked it all. We have AJ Styles getting on the apron as Roman Reigns realizes they're stacked for him. He gets the phenomenal forearm. He falls onto him. AJ Styles gets the triple stack as the smallest guy in the match. I don't know. It's a fun little spot. I thought it made sense, but like you knew he wasn't going to win. But the thing is the crowd was electric. The crowd was in the palm of their hands. That's how you know the match was effective, because they still popped for the kick out. They still popped for when Sikoa showed up. While it is repetitive, and while we are getting a similar finish each time, it's hasn't stopped being effective, and that's the reality we're in.
Yeah, no, I mean, absolutely, you are true there. The crowd really was into this match, as they should be. It's a fatal 4-way for the biggest championship in professional wrestling or sports entertainment in the eyes of WWE. We got Itachi on YouTube saying, was Punk injured? Well, we'll get into the men's Royal Rumble in just a minute. But yeah, you were right. He did seem like he was holding his elbow and he went over to the referee. We all saw it, but we'll have to wait and see. But now let's move on, and let's move on to talk about Logan Paul, who successfully defended the United States Championship against Kevin Owens last night, but he did not defend it by winning. He defended it by Kevin Owens losing via disqualification. And I thought it was a creative end to the match. I did. I didn't hate it, and I know a lot of people are praising it. I get it, right? But here's my thing. This was the only 1v1 match on this card. And the only 1v1 match on the card didn't have a clean finish. Or not even a clean finish, but a proper finish. A pinfall. And I just wasn't a fan of that. If this was on an episode of Raw, SmackDown, or even on a multi-pay-per-view match card, I'd have been fine with it. It's a clever, it's a clever way of doing it. It was unique, it was creative, it was cool. But, kind of felt like it was a letdown. Anthony, what did you think about it?
I didn't have an issue with it. I felt that, Logan Paul has been wrestling very little. He's not, Kevin Owens has been doing this, for 20 years or close to it at this point. So I didn't think he was going to beat Owens cleanly. I thought he was going to retain. I thought they found a creative way to do it. And as a cowardly heel, it makes sense for Logan to retain in less than clean ways, the best way to put it. So it doesn't surprise me. Owens gave him nice coverage in the match, made him look really strong. Owens also looked strong during the match. I think they both benefited from it. But overall, Logan retaining is a smart move because I think you're going to at least Mania with him to possibly either retain or drop the title at Mania. We'll see. I don't know how long this reign's going to run, but him as a heel just barely sneaking by with the U.S. title is probably a smart move too, because it's almost a mirror opposite of Gunther. Gunther's dominating as Intercontinental Champion and winning cleanly his matches for the most part. Logan's not. So I think you can kind of run with that. I don't know how long you're going to go with it, but it didn't surprise me that Owens lost. I do, but I think it was very creative on how they did it, because I don't really recall the last time we've seen that, or if we've seen that particular version of the ref catching you at the end. I can't recall off the top of my head.
No, I can't either. It was creative, I will give you that. I just would have liked to see a pinfall or a submission, something. Sure, definitely have him cheat to win, undoubtedly, right? But I don't know. Maybe I'm overthinking this, but I just like a pinfall. I like a definitive winner, even if there is cheating involved to get there. I like to get there. I like to see things finished. But now, let's move on and talk about finishing the story, shall we? Because the men's Royal Rumble match happened last night, of course. And this Rumble, it wasn't as unpredictable as the women's in terms of the action throughout it, right? From the beginning of it, apart from the return of Andrade, it kind of felt, it kind of lacked any real surprises. It did. The action through the middle of it kind of felt just like they were just, trying to get through the match. Braun Breaker coming out and just, like I said earlier, Braun Breakout. He had a breakout performance. It was truly, really, really fun. That was the only really highlight of the middle of the match for me. But when we got to the last 10, 15 minutes of it, the action really picked up. You couldn't tell who was going to win. Could it be Cody Rhodes? Could it be CM Punk? Could it be Drew McIntyre? Could it be Gunther? There was 4 options which you could make a huge, huge case for, and they did it really, really well because they brought it down. The final 2 were the 2, favorites for this match, CM Punk and Cody Rhodes, and they did it perfectly. Really, really fun Royal Rumble match, but yeah, the middle of it felt a little bit stale, and it kind of lacked surprises for me throughout it. But, Anthony, firstly, what did you think about the Royal Rumble as a whole? And secondly, what do you think about Cody Rhodes winning it to go and to try and finish his story at WrestleMania once again.
I do agree with you that the men's was not as exciting. There weren't as many surprises. Like, to me, you had Jordan Grace in the women's. I wouldn't have minded if you would have put Moose in there because he's the TNA World Champion as a surprise, and especially if he would have went a little further. Let's say it was like Final 7 or something like that, and it would have added at least a little bit of intrigue of going, wait, what are they doing with this? So Breaker with his absolute breakout. Like, he did exactly what you're supposed to do. When you are trying to make a name in this business, you take that showcase and you make the best of it. And that's what they did with Breaker. When I made the prediction on the preview show, I predicted Punk, but in my mind, it was always between Cody and Punk. The only reason I didn't pick Cody was because I wasn't sure if they were going to make him win back-to-back years. I loved them being the final two. The back and forth, Punk delivering the pedigree and smirking to the camera the entire time, which I thought was a nice touch. I do think we are probably going to get a Punk heel turn somewhere down the road. I'm thinking after Mania, though. Cody winning, becoming only the fourth person to ever win back-to-back Royal Rumbles. There is a statistic that I do want to point out. Hogan, Shawn Michaels, and Austin are the other three. All three of them did not leave WrestleMania with the WWE Championship after winning their first Rumble. They all won after winning their second. So, tradition, history, whatever you want to call it, I do think Cody is front running to win the title this time. I know I said that last year too, but like this year, I could see them delaying him a year to get to 40. With Philly being, known for Rocky and an underdog city, one of the most hardcore fan bases. And Clark, you could probably confirm this too, as somebody that's from a hardcore city yourself.
Yeah.
The Philly fan base will deliver in there. And they've been using Cody constantly for the promotion of WrestleMania 40. So I kind of felt that, oh yeah, they're going this direction. Do I think The Rock's going to play a role in it? I do think The Rock may come out to even the score with the bloodline, but Cody's come the closest, and I think Cody's going to do it in Philly.
Well, a lot of people are suggesting today maybe The Rock could be a special guest referee, and that would be interesting. Absolutely. I mean, Anthony, that was a great statistic you pointed out. The pressure is all on Cody, and I hope they make a big deal out of that, just like they made a really big deal going into this Rumble, to be honest with you, which maybe they kind of made it a bit obvious, same as Bayley too, where they kept bringing up Cody and kept bringing up the fact that nobody's won it since Stone Cold 20 years ago, back-to-back years. So they kind of did make it like a bit predictable, but it didn't seem predictable because it felt so predictable. You didn't think that's what was going to happen, but then it happened and it delivered. It really, really did.
So sometimes the most obvious answer is the right one, and yeah. I think it'll pay off. I mean, I really think that is the match that realistically will probably deliver the best out of Cody and Roman. I think would deliver the best. Storyline wise, you can go back to last year, you could go back to Dusty and finish the story and just kind of do it in a way you could do a build up. I could see them doing a promotional video for 40 and having Sylvester Stallone do the voiceover for it. Like they're going to go Philly centric with it. So I think that's probably the logical move.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's going to be a fun one. I'm excited for it, but I said it earlier, I'll say it again. It sucks because I mean, we all have different thoughts on, Cody, Reigns and all of that, and I'm sure we'll get into that more over the next few weeks, but I actually genuinely do think Cody should be the one to take the title off of Reigns. I genuinely think he deserves it, and I do think there is a story there to be told, but I really don't think it's happening. I really have that feeling that he's going to lose, and it'd be so bad for Cody. It would be just awful.
They're not going to want that sour note to close Mania 40 with Cody losing again. There's too many eyes on that. I think it's going to backlash if they do.
I think it could backlash too, but I just I feel the same way. I mean, you got Joshua Buckner 97 saying the issue in Roman Reigns' contract is up soon. Well, we're not the dirtiest dirt sheet in dirt sheet entertainment, but I don't think that is true. I don't think his contract
Gotta
is
get
up.
that out every time, eh, Ben?
I do. I have to diss the dirt sheets. Thankfully, I stayed well away from all of that last night, and I didn't have anything of significance spoiled, which was nice, right? Because at the end of the day, Royal Rumble, it's meant to be unpredictable. But Coby, I mean, what do you think about this one? Do you feel like, well, I mean, do you feel like Cody should finish his story, or do you feel like WWE made a mistake doing this match for Milestone Mania, like you've said in the past?
I think you're in the position where you have to. You cannot sit there and say Cody Rhodes can take another loss, because then what happens? Where do you go from there? You're going to have at least another year of Roman Reigns chugging along as the champion, and then where's Cody Rhodes going to go there? He only has room to have a Randy Orton and a Punk feud elsewhere. There's only so many things that can prepare him for Roman Reigns, even though that hasn't been the story they've told since he's lost last year. That hasn't been. You haven't had Brock Lesnar go, I want to prepare you to defeat Roman Reigns. You didn't do that. We're not relating Cody Rhodes dealing with the Judgment Day to Cody Rhodes dealing with the numbers game with the Bloodline. There's a lot of self-appointed dot connecting in this scenario. There's a lot. People are connecting the dots themselves, which I like. People were doing it for Karrion Kross before, and then they did it in his initial video package from December. This is the thing, is if I'm talking about the Rumble itself, there's a lot of issues I had with it because we didn't have enough surprises. One surprise was McAfee, which did nothing. I would not have had an issue with McAfee if McAfee did what McAfee does when he is in the ring. He's an athletic person. He can flip. He can take bumps. He didn't do any of that. The only other surprise was Andrade. Yes, I guess you consider it was a return for Sami Zayn because Sami hasn't been on TV for nearly 2 months. But even then, it's just there's a lot of just it's felt like this for a last how many years where the men's Rumble just doesn't get I don't want to say the attention, but the men's Rumble doesn't get the surprises. They aren't getting the numbers advantage in that sense. The other issue is I think they didn't make enough. They didn't set up Jay versus Jimmy if that's the move for WrestleMania. They had the initial stare down at the ring, but other than that, there was no build throughout the match of their tension is growing. I feel like they're at the same place they were 2 days ago, and just two separate people, one on Raw, one on SmackDown. I feel like as Jay being the Iron Man, I think they didn't make a big enough deal of his elimination. I thought he should have. I wouldn't have been opposed if this was the final two was Jey Uso and Cody Rhodes, because then you have basically the two people want to see Roman lose to. Then you would have had at least an aspect of unpredictability. I think as soon as The Rock didn't show up, everyone knew it was Cody Rhodes.
I mean, a lot of people thought that Punk could. Because, I mean, listen, if we look at betting odds, right before the match, CM Punk was favourite and Cody was second. So, I mean, I'm going to be honest here. I feel like I genuinely feel like having Punk there was less predictable than Jey Uso. But I would have liked to see Jey Uso in the final three. I'll agree with you on that one. Atachi agrees with you on YouTube saying that Pat McAfee's spot was a total waste. And it was. It was nothing. He did absolutely nothing.
It was nothing.
It was pointless. It was. It sucks because he's great.
I mean, I guess it's not pointless because Michael Cole gets to sit there and brag that he's the longest reigning commentator to last in a Rumble. But it is pointless. I would have been better off seeing someone just get taken out and no one take the number. I don't know. Like it's a scenario where I think Carmelo did well, and I think the one statistic that I can bring up is the two people with the most eliminations was, of course, one our winner Cody Rhodes, and the second who spent less than 6 minutes, Braun Breaker. He had the second. He was tied for most eliminations.
That is
And that's a
crazy.
statistic that
And it felt like he lasted longer
saw
than
it.
that too.
It
Oh,
was
that
under
is-
6 minutes, and he eliminated Finn Balor. He eliminated a few people. I feel like he did well in his spot. I think
It felt longer.
it felt longer, but the time doesn't. Like the time moves slow. But that just shows you, like, they kept him in. He was there shortly, but he got his Rumble rub, if you want me to say it like that.
Oh, well, I guess he's here for a good time, not for a long time. I guess that's Braun Breaker's Tinder bio. But now let's move on, and let's move on to you, Clark. I mean, listen, you've been a big, I don't want to say hater, but you've been saying for months and months and months, highly critical about Cody Rhodes' story. You're saying, finish the story. Well, Cody, you haven't even started it. You haven't told us one. And you've just been very, very critical about it for a long, long time now. You were critical last year. And you're critical again this year. But now it's happened. He's won. What is your thoughts?
So I echo a lot of the sentiments we mentioned about last night's Rumble as far as being a slight letdown. I think part of it was having to follow the Women's Rumble, even though it was on the back half of the show. The way the Women's Rumble played out, I mean, if they could even match that energy, it would have been, to me, one of my favorite Rumbles. You mentioned the betting odds with CM Punk. There's only one way to move a Vegas line, a betting odds line, and that's hardcore fans. And so I personally view that particular statistic as the line was moved by hardcore CM Punk fans. More than the belief was that he would actually win. And that's just something that I you know, right, wrong, or indifferent, that's just something, the way that I view the situation. Execution wise, I don't love Cody winning back to back personally. I as far as the story being finished, because I want the story to be perfect. I really do. It's the best on paper story you could basically tell in wrestling currently, given the reality of the situation, everything that happened. And so I thought about it a ton, and I was disappointed more last night than I am this morning. I would not have personally had Cody win back-to-back Rumbles. Okay, we're here now. I also believe it does make sense for Roman to go over at Mania, and I still believe that's the case. But here's the caveat, and here's how we really finish the story. Roman wins at Mania, but he doesn't do it super clean, just like last year. Maybe a little interference, maybe something else. And then we finish the story at the Garden, where the story really started. And I don't know when WWE's going to the Garden, but where this story really started, where Dusty held that title up in front of all of those fans at the world's most famous arena, as they like to call it. We finish it there. Whatever event it is, we finish it there. Even if it's a Monday Night Raw, even if it's a SmackDown, it doesn't matter to me. We finish this at the Garden where it started.
Wow.
And Cody Rhodes holds up the WWE title that he won for his father in the building. He got robbed of it in front of that crowd at the world's most famous arena. Now that is something I could get behind. And if that's what we're building to and leading to, now we're finishing the story because we're telling it too.
Maybe.
And I will be fired up about that. I don't know necessarily how fast that can happen, and I don't see SummerSlam, or obviously it's been announced where the majority of the PLEs along the way are. But it's the Garden.
I have a theory.
Yeah.
We know that they love to run MSG after Christmas, right? Well, how about first Raw of 2025, the first Monday Night Raw on Netflix? You do it at Madison Square Garden.
Yep.
And that's when you do the title change.
Oh, I mean, I got
Isn't
goosebumps
June
talking about it.
26th always? I think it's.
Well,
I
supposed
mean,
December
who knows? They
26th.
could change it.
You can book it
No,
different.
you could change it, but I think that's just been the ritual.
Well, you could also run MSG twice. You can run the traditional live
do.
event at MSG,
Yeah.
and then you can run it for
Right.
whether it be the Raw debut on Netflix, whether it be a special edition day one.
I was going to say the one I would say is I would almost put it. Yeah, if you want to put me on it, the one I would almost say is do it on the final Raw on television.
Oh, that'd be
Because
interesting.
That's closer.
It's
to the date
closer,
of
but like
Dusty
I feel like
Rhodes.
Netflix
'Cause
would.
Dusty
I
Rhodes
don't
didn't-
know.
Dusty Rhodes'
Honestly,
moment
I'm
was
kind of
in
tickled by the
September.
idea, though. Just pop a number on the way out. Like,
Yeah, but I feel like you're gonna annoy Netflix by the time your show starts.
Nah.
But guys, this is the end of the episode now. It's been a fun one. If you're on Spotify, please leave a cheeky 5 stars. If you're on YouTube, like and subscribe on all the platforms. Please support us. Tomorrow, Mailbag Monday. Send in your questions via our Instagram story. We'll be back normal time. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for commenting. We're here every day. Thank you, Clark. Thank you, Coby. And thank you, Anthony. And we'll see you tomorrow. Peace.